Well, hello again, everybody. This is Sarah, your medium on the go. Wow, 3 days in a row after 2 months. This is something else. So, again, before I get started, I just have an announcement for those of you in the Pittsburgh area. On Sunday, I'm teaching my first of a series of the basics of mediumship. And this one is about calling on your own loved ones who have passed to help you connect with other people's loved ones in spirit. So this is Sunday at the Christine Frechard Gallery at 5005 Penn Avenue in Garfield, and it will be this Sunday the 14th from 3 to 5:30. So I will leave you the link to register in the description. So do turn out. All levels are welcome. So today, in the continuation with my pre-picked death card, I am going to be talking about the Democrats. Now, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to, and I guess many of you who watch this channel who are of a similar political leaning as I am are probably very familiar with Jennifer and Angie, the IHIP ladies. And the one thing they get doesn't, for their little news breaks and even their big podcasts, the one thing that they're always able to get in, no matter what the topic is the Democrats really, really need to change. This is a whole new ball game, and we can't afford the luxury of being too nicey. This really reminds me of a lot of this situation, and this is where we get to how this affects us. This really takes me back to a lot of the codependent type meetings I went to, and therapy, group therapy, talking about being people pleasers and just being too nice and trying to make everybody happy. And so right now, and my random pick, and it fits so beautifully, is the Two of Swords in reverse. Now, this is a good thing it's in reverse, because they've been going through, I think they're going through a transition right now of they're trying to make up their mind, like, do we stay nicey or do we go the AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Bernie Sanders route and really showing, telling it like it is and standing up to MAGA bullies. Now, I believe that they have been in the upright position. They just can't make up their minds. But see, in the reverse position, this is very interesting. Doesn't mean exactly the they don't always mean exactly the opposite in reverse. In the Two of Swords reversed, they know deep down inside what they've got to do. But the blindfold is still on. But the truth is coming out on the swords, on the two swords that are kind of weighing them down. So right now the Democrats, I think, are in a position of like, well, we really, I don't know, what do we do? Oh, they know what to do. They know what to do, but that's the one final step, is taking off the blindfold to go ahead and do it. Because being nicey nice does not, that hasn't worked. But on the other hand, you can't go totally to the dark side and be just horrifically cruel the way the MAGA people are. So that is something of a dilemma. So it's, knowing where to kind of hold the line. And that goes in our own lives too. And then this is about pretty much about standing up to bullies, but also it can go to being assertive, to asking the boss for a raise without going ballistic, and also dealing with bullies in a quiet but an assertive way. And that's kind of like the nuance thing they have to learn. So part of the journey of the death card here is, all the things that need to die. This, when they go low, we go high, is lovely. And I thought, oh, that sounded just lovely, almost 10 years ago now, from Michelle Obama, who I admire immensely. That sounds very nice on one hand, but on the other hand, that's kind of a luxury we can't afford because they end up walking all over us. And it comes down to, again, part of the journey of the death card is that, as the girls call him, Chuckles Schumer, has really got to go. Now, with all due respect, I do remember, and it was almost 31 years ago, when he defeated Republican Al D'Amato in the race for the Senate, and he was right for the times. He was right for 30 years ago, but now it's a whole new ball game, and maybe he needs to do the Nancy Pelosi thing and step back. A lot of people have criticized her, and yeah, maybe she is a little bit old school, but I think she knows it and saying, well, this isn't exactly my style, so my style doesn't work anymore. So I'm in my 80s now, 1940. She's 85 now, so maybe it's time for me to step down because I'm no Bernie Sanders, okay? So this is kind of like, hey guys, you know what to do. And it's like all of us that have been through some things and gone to therapy and everything, and the therapist, will say, you know what, you really know what you need to do. I don't need to tell you, you know. And it's like, yeah, I know, but it's really hard. So this is what we're going through. So this is another mirror of looking into our lives. And it kind of follows up with yesterday's about, the addiction and hitting bottom and being in denial and all that sort of thing, that it comes to like, yeah, I know what to do, but I really hate to give up my comfort zone, and that this is what it's all about. And it continues after dealing with the addictive behavior into getting into some real stuff here. So, as I did yesterday with a slightly different deck here, I'm going to do a reading on this and about what this means and what this means for us and what we maybe need to do. Okay, so we got Death, Two of Swords, kind of hanging out together. So let's see what is the energy. What is the energy crossing? And that is the Seven of Wands in reverse. And this is really being pretty much overwhelmed. And it's since it's in he does stand his ground, but since this is in reverse, this is a whole new thing to so many people, that it's doesn't mean you can't stand your ground, but it's very difficult, and this is pretty much what people are learning. So what's going on beneath the surface of all of this? Okay, so in the past, we have, yep, the bullies have been robbing us blind. But the interesting thing is now that people are waking up to, in the Great Awakening, which I hear a lot of other people talking about, is that they're starting to become fewer, and they're standing alone, and you see these others walking away. I would say this pretty much sums up last Tuesday's election, when a lot of people in some very red areas who would have normally been shoo-ins, got reversed. This would also be the MAGA lawmakers, too, that we're going to go back this summer. The MAGA lawmakers who had the town halls, and people like literally walked away from them and telling them a few harsh things. And so this is kind of the waking up of people standing up to them and say, you cannot bullshit us. We're done with that. But they're still there. But they're getting to be pretty lonely people. So more in the present of, this is a good one. This is now people taking that leap of faith. And I'm talking maybe about the sadder but wiser FAFOers who are saying, and when there are victories in places like Missouri, and that sort of thing, is that they're now saying, okay, it's time to jump into the unknown and have a new beginning. Like, I might be a Republican, but I can't be this kind, so bye-bye. So this is a big leap of faith. Now, some of them are being vocal. Some of them are just going to the voting booth and keeping their mouths shut. But this is still a big deal. And when you start to stand up to bullies and assert yourself and not like try to be nice to everyone, that is a big step. That's a very big and a brave step when you're used to doing something people-pleasing thing for so long. And then we're going into the future. I see this card as the realization that isolating ourselves from the rest of the world and this America only first whatever, and let's take care of ourselves at home, isn't really, it's a fairy tale. So this is something else that needs to be given up, like these, realizing that we are part of the world community. And if we just sit back and play victim and bow down to the way that he has messed up our standing in the world, it's affecting people with tariffs and all sorts of things, and realizing that the world stands alone, and they're going to go on without us. And I think what's really interesting is that I think I just saw today that the EU, NATO is really giving a shit ton of money to Ukraine, and really telling they're definitely thumbing their nose at the U.S. That is for sure. So sometimes you've got to go against get brave and go against the policy and stand back and say, that's them, but that is not me. That is not me at all. Okay, so in opposition, we have the Chariot. And that is realizing that by playing it nice and trying to make everybody happy, you just don't move forward. You're just going to stay stuck in this, and this is what people are starting to realize. So this goes to personal law. I mean, this, awakening new consciousness, it's not about sitting up on a mountain like some of the people on YouTube were saying, like sitting on this mountaintop and boom, you get hit by a 5D whatever bolt of lightning and you're enlightened as you gaze into your navel. No, it could mean a woman who's being bullied and abused by her husband of fighting back and walking out and saying, I'm not taking this anymore. Now that's an awakening, and that is being enlightened. If someone that's taken abuse for so many years, and now these are the women I talked about who went out and voted for Trump because it sort of justifies them staying in abusive relationships. So I think that this is a group, I believe, that are starting to wake up. They realize I'm not going anywhere in this except backwards. So this is a big awareness of like not taking any crap from partners, jobs, or that this sort of thing, and maybe fighting back a little bit. And if you don't get what you need, you walk. This is what this is about. So, on the conscious level, we have the Knight of Swords in a reverse. So consciously and outwardly, this is and this is kind of like an old psychological thing that I've noticed. It's like when you're trying to correct one bit of behavior for a while, you'll do the total opposite. It's like if you've been very silent, all of a sudden your mouth will go off and you'll be saying things that could be inappropriate, hurtful, but you do that and then you realize that you can pull back and be in the middle somewhere, but apparently that's the most natural thing. So it's like awakening to the fact, like, I'm not going to take this anymore, I'm not going to be nice anymore. So then you verbally take no prisoners for a while, and if people are understanding, they'll say, okay, they need to go through that to come back to not ever being that, letting people walk all over them. So then we have here on the interesting, on the subconscious level, it's like being in the comfort zone of the past and of childhood, but not a very healthy past. It's like a lot of these people that go into this whole, and it's fun to do the whole nostalgia thing, but in the illusion that's thinking, boy, if this were the 50s and the 60s, things would be so much better, but they really aren't. So that's another thing that the death card needs to discard, is that kind of subconscious thing to go find a comfort zone and something that really wasn't real to begin with. Okay. So, going into the past, Ten of Pentacles, the nice family. I would even say that the prosperity, we were just about to, we had some roughness with the inflation. Things were starting to get straightened out. So here we are with the family and nation starting to work together. But that didn't quite work out, because the grass looked greener or whatever, or the election was funny stuff. Okay. So coming into the present with this, Two of Cups. So that this is a kind of a twofold thing. It's, it goes back to the whole thing of, there are certain partnerships that worked before that don't work anymore, whether it's having bet on the wrong horse in 24 for, like, I don't know what the reasoning was. And it could also be with a friendship or a relationship or a job or something like that, that you realize that it really wasn't working, and it was the illusion because you were just being such a people pleaser and being nice. And then when you wake up and take the blindfold off for the Two of Swords in reverse, you realize that, and it goes along with the Death card too, there's just a lot of things that you've got to shed off, and that some people may not like you asserting yourself. And to me, that is really part of this big awakening stuff. So in the near future is the Nine of Pentacles with prosperity. I would say that it is taking another look at this and our worship of billionaires, and realizing that that's pretty much of a trap in itself. And I'm always, fascinated with the fact that this woman is always behind a wall. And, this goes back to CEOs of insurance companies. They've got all this money, but they don't dare leave the house alone unless they're under heavy guard because they're all paranoid. There's another Luigi lurking in the shadows, and they're probably right. So starting to wake up to the fact that, sucking up and being nice to the billionaires isn't, it's a trap, it's an illusion, and that's something else that those ladies that Jennifer and Angie talked about today with this really bright guy they were interviewing, is that we have got to get over our love of billionaires, and they're not necessarily smart. They're kind of cagey, but not smart. So this is changing a whole value set. And what really looks wonderful here, it really isn't. It really isn't as wonderful as it looked. And it may be time to start being so nicey nice to the billionaires and start to call them out, which I believe, thanks to the Muskrat and all these other douchebags, people are starting to do that. So in the future, we have, the High Priestess. That means that there's going to be a lot of nasty secrets coming out. And this, as usual, all roads lead back to the Epstein files, and his ghost is running wild. So I think what this is saying is, and I think some of them have been released, and as more is learned about them, people will, this is the real catalyst. This is where, no, it's time to not be nice to the privileged, because they do this, not all of them, but a lot of them do this stuff, and they buy their way out with money. So the deep, dark secrets come out, and people, they get a chance to will be expressing their anger and getting a little bit more aggressive. And that's where you get that Marjorie Taylor Greene and others, that's the bridge too far. So there's nothing like some abuse of children to really have people become more their authentic selves. Okay, so now how, in this light of how we see ourselves as we're awakening to the fact that, we got to get down in the mud a little bit, but without going to the truly dark side. But we have to tippy-toe around there, because you can't be nice to bullies. So how we see ourselves. Here we go. This is another death card. We're starting to see ourselves transitioning after the way that we used to be, and that one of the bodies lying in wake is that whole codependent, people-pleasing thing. As I say, it's a hard one to let go of for a lot of people, but this is what's happening. And like the Tower card, there's a lot of pain involved. There's a lot of pain involved with this. So then how others see us is the case. You believe me, my European friends on Facebook, and that I knew over at Arthur Findlay, they're paying attention to these elections, and they know about these losses in the red district recently. And the Australian tarot readers like Lena Rodriguez and Marianne of Revealing Light Tarot, they see this stuff that's going on. So let's see, how do all these people see us now? They may be more aware of this than too many Americans are, but don't get how others. Interesting. They're seeing us as still tied to the devil. See, I don't have to put my hands over this like other people do, because I've dressed them for you. They're in YouTube couture that I have designed. This is the swimwear. But at any rate, so they still see us as tied to the devil. So they know that maybe not some of them that know us individually, but they're seeing Americans as a whole still tied to the devil. And the devil is about addiction and codependent and toxic relationships. So they're still seeing Americans as chained to the devil and trying to make the devil happy. Unfortunately, there are a lot of them, but the numbers are dwindling. The numbers are dwindling. And I think the lesson of these two guys here is that it's really important for us to let those friends know that things are changing. The winds are changing, but it doesn't happen. Well, it's probably happening pretty quickly, but I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. And I would say that the Two of Swords in reverse is saying, yeah, people are doing that, but it's really gone beyond the comfort zone. So I want to draw some conclusionary cards here. So to conclude, we've got, the Fool in reverse. I would say as people are being disillusioned, and I'm really feeling it, it's, along with the Democrats, who are realizing that they can no longer, do what they've been doing and feeling very uncomfortable with it. It's also us in general in our personal lives, which it says, since this is in reverse, does put us a little bit in we've got to watch out to not do really foolish things. And this is about, we cannot be the way we used to be in opposing this on one hand, but let's not get crazy and be like them. So this may not be as easy as we think. So let's see, the energy crossing this is, good. The Hierophant. So in order to avoid this, it's kind of like throwing the old rule books away, and that now we pretty much have to go against the established norms in a way, but to balance it out and not go too far. So I think one or two more clarifiers. But as I say, it's the phenomena of the Knight of Swords in reverse where, the natural thing is to maybe swing a little bit too much the other way until you can get a bit grounded. And so what this is saying is that this probably will be happening, but it may not all be bad, and it's going to be, and which makes it kind of like an unconventional sort of a way that people are basically changing and getting a little bit more assertive. So, and then we have the High Priestess up right now, which is talking about, I would say that one of the results of this would be the people, thank goodness she's not in reverse like she was previously, that this is about people maybe accepting people of all different religious faiths or different spiritual practices, and they're being a little bit more tolerant. And this is also sitting between our shadow selves and the white pillar, which is about part of this coming out of this being people-pleasing kind of stuff is to embrace the darker side of our nature, the shadow side, which a lot of people are afraid to do. But once you shine the light on it, it takes away some of the, the fear factor in this sort of thing. So this is about in transforming and going to a higher consciousness of that we do need to, there's the shadow work that needs to be done. And we are right now being hit with both barrels of the shadow. This has been a very exhausting year, I will have to say, with all the drama. But perhaps this has been necessary because in our own personal lives, whoops, oh, good. In our own personal lives, it's pretty much like, remember the movie Network, the guy screaming out the window, we've had enough and we're not going to take it anymore. So, which I believe this is the Knight of Swords in reverse, because in this way, maybe you do have to go through a little bit of screaming and going a little bit overboard, but kind of like when you let off all of that steam, you're able to become a little bit more rational and smart about how you kind of beat the enemy, so to speak. So part of being spiritual is just like is standing up to the bully, and because being, I think that's what the Democrats have been doing, is that they've been being a little bit too nice to the bully, thinking, oh, if we're nice to the bully, then the bully's going. No, it does not work that way. And as we see that with our leaders, it's a mirror to our own personal lives, and saying like, this person's been jerking me around so many years, and just because I've known them since God knows when, that doesn't mean that they're the right person. They're the right person in my life. So this is another important aspect. And just as I hope that the party goes the way of AOC and and Jasmine, and I think my representative of Summer Lee is she's shown some growth, and she's headed in that direction. She hasn't been there that long. She's only in her second term, but I see that people like that who are saying like, oh, I can't be that nice young lady from the Mon Valley anymore. Got to get in there and fight, and that's the whole thing. But it's learning how to fight smart too. So not being bullied and trying to people please is as much of a spiritual growth as anything else, as sitting and meditating and going, woo. It's not all about that. Sometimes it means like, get out there and be a little bit of a street fighter. So that's all for me. And really what I'm trying to do in these videos is, as much as these are timely to what's going on now, I think it's really important that, if you missed my video because of the nature of this and what my attempt to make this universal is, that these are not obsolete, news of the minute type of videos, but something that you can go back like next week and see this one, because I don't think it times out like the more predictive ones. So, do feel free to see the previous two I've done in my complete reboot. So, I don't know if I'll be back tomorrow. I'm just pretty much coming on as the spirit moves me. So I will see you soon. Bye.